Well, hey, friend, it's the Christmas season again. And if you're like me, the Christmas season means that there's just seemingly an endless to do list, endless rehearsals, extra services, extra lesson schedules, piano recitals. That's just professionally, not just to mention what we go through personally during the Christmas season of all the extra Christmas parties and gifts and travel and all of that. And the reality is sometimes it can feel like the joy of the Christmas season is kind of buried under a mountain of to-do lists and all of the stress that comes with Christmas season. And so one thing I've learned is that it doesn't have to be that way. So if you hear that beginning and that triggered you a little bit, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be where all the joy of the season is just buried under everything we have to get done, right? You absolutely should not be making any career decisions right now. A phrase I used to say when I taught was, "We don't make career decisions in the holidays," and this is not the time to quit your job or to move into a different field or to throw in the towel. And so today I want to give you 10 steps, 10 practical steps of how you can manage the Christmas season and all the stresses and all the extra things that come with it, how you can manage it so that you not only survive Christmas season, but that you're thriving through it and that you're more present for your family. And so that's our topic today. That's what we're talking about is I have 10 thoughts, 10 talking points, kind of 10 things that I have learned over years and years of serving as a worship leader or a band director or teaching private lessons, all of those things. We know that the Christmas season is super busy, right? But I have realized that there's 10 sort of ideas or thoughts that if we take each of them and we take them to heart and we do these steps, man, you can make the Christmas season one for the ages where you're not sacrificing your family for your professional excellence as it would be. So the first thing is we just have to acknowledge that, man, there's some unique holiday pressures that happen in the Christmas season, right? And they're not a bad thing. If you're serving as a worship leader and you're planning Christmas services, you want to ultimately honor God through your local church. You want to give your absolute best as one of the two biggest services of the year, right? That's not a bad thing. But we have to acknowledge that what comes along with that is an extra workload. It's managing more people, more volunteers, more resources, potentially more talent in your service, right? If you're a private lessons instructor, which I am currently, like we have piano recitals this time of year. People are traveling, like there's a lot more pressure that goes into this time of year. Everybody's a little bit more on edge. Everybody's a little bit more busy, and which is crazy because I think we're busy enough as it is. But um, the best tip I can give you is first thing is we just have to acknowledge that this time of year is busy and we know it's busy. Every year, we know it's busy. So if we acknowledge, hey, Christmas is coming, it's gonna be here. At the time of this recording, it is here. But as we think ahead to next year, like we have to think that and remember that Christmas comes at the same time every year. And the Christmas season is the same time every year. It doesn't sneak up on anybody. So we have to acknowledge, hey, the 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks ahead, November, December are super busy times for those of us in the music education space, in the worship leader space, really just any space. This time of year is busy. So know it, acknowledge it, plan for it. The second thought I would have for you comes from a phrase I said earlier, and it's one I have used as a joke for years and years. Though it's not really a joke, it's kind of a fun way to remind myself that this is the truth, which is we don't make career decisions around the holidays. Okay. Cannot emphasize this enough. How many people I know who go through the stress of the holiday season without a plan and then they look back on it and they say, "Man, I don't ever want to do that again. That didn't work for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this field. Maybe a rehearsal doesn't go well. Maybe you have some unrealistic expectations put on you by your boss, by your pastor, your church, your worship team, whatever it is. We don't make career decisions around the holidays. All right. I'm going to say that again. We don't make career decisions around the holidays. Later on, we're going to unpack a little bit more what that means, but I just want you to say that with me, that we don't make decisions now. We're not in a mental state to make a decision about the holidays. We are about our career. We can't do that now. We're focused on all of our rehearsals and all the things that go into it. Our career is not, this is not the time to be going through that. And the third thing kind of piggybacks on that one is I want you and I to set some realistic expectations, like realistic expectations. So there's a temptation in the Christmas season, especially if you are a type A high achiever, that your default is yes. Your default is, man, we're doing a Christmas service. I want to do this special song and I want to bring in some strings and man, maybe I can make the track for them so I can record it for them. And the reality is, too often we just set unrealistic expectations for what the Christmas season holds. We have to know, okay, this is my bandwidth, this is the time that I have. And so there are some things that are just going to need to be put on the shelf because we don't have time for them right now. We're wrapped up in a bunch of other things. I've heard before that failing to plan is planning to fail, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about planning here in the next tip, but like, I want you and I to have realistic expectations of what we can and cannot do. We are one person with 24 hours, and we can't think that we are superhuman. There's just not time for it. And so the temptation, what I want you to do and what I want me to do is to look at whatever we're currently responsible for and be willing to say, this is what I have. I'm going to try to get the absolute best out of it, but I'm going to be realistic about what we can do. Because if I think that we have a 10 out of 10 and I have a worship team that can do these amazing songs that I have this amazing vision for, and I wrote this little poem that's going to be spoke, it's going to be awesome. But if I don't have the team to put that together, if I don't have a production team that can get that vision to life, then I'm going to be frustrated and I'm going to be disappointed and I'm going to feel like, man, I dropped the ball. I didn't do my best. Okay. So there's a misnomer. Sometimes we think that like our best is what our standard is. It's like what we're physically capable of, but your best professionally has so much more to do with your environment. It has to do with, what resources do you have? Like if you have no money for Christmas, it's not reasonable for you or anybody to expect a petting zoo. You don't have the money for it. Now, if you live on a farm, then absolutely do the petting zoo. But if you don't have the resources for that, to expect that, it doesn't make sense. And it's just going to cause you to feel frustrated. And I don't want that for you. Like Christmas is supposed to be the best time of year. It's the most joyous time of the year. And setting realistic expectations is the way to maintain that joy. Along with that, because we are busier, my fourth idea for you is we got to manage our time. And this could be a whole nother podcast and probably will be at some point because this is probably the biggest thing, the biggest area that most younger pastors fall into. Most younger people, younger teachers, younger professionals is we tend to not manage our time well. And then we wonder where all of our time went, right? Like I meet with a lot of youth pastors and a lot of times they'll tell me, man, we really want to get involved with this or get involved with first priority or get involved with being in the schools or do these amazing outreaches in our community. I just don't have the time. And those get ramped up to a 10 around the Christmas season, right? Like There's just not enough time for Christmas parties and all of that. So what I want for you is the same thing I want for me is I want to manage my calendar. I want to tell my days where I'm going and what I'm doing so that I get the most important things that I need to done in my day. That might mean number 5, the importance of saying no. No is a complete sentence, and no is something that I want that to be the default for you. A lot of us feel like, especially when we're newer to teaching or we're newer to serving in ministry, we just want to say yes to everything. The reality is, we need to flip that, and actually, our default should be no. Now, you can say that in a nice way, of course, or you can say that however you want to say it. But I want you and I to be like, hey, I would love to see that mission come to be, or that extra service, or that ministry, or that small group, or I would love to lead that after school club, or whatever it is in your situation. But it's okay to say, I don't have the time for that right now. But let me help you, or is there somebody else who can shoulder that? Or is there another time frame that we can execute that will have the same effect that doesn't have to be during your busiest months of the year, November, December. All right. So I want you to, and I want me to have my default to be, hey, my default is no. So when somebody comes to me and says, hey, it'd be really cool if we did this. When I served as a youth pastor, we would hear that all the time. Man, it'd be really cool if we did this, or what if we did this in the service, or what if we had this before, this after. My default position was, hey, we've kind of, if I've planned my weeks and if I've planned long term for what I want, whatever I'm responsible for, if I've planned well, then I've already maximized my time and I can't put anything else in there. So my first inclination is, hey, and now don't tell them that. Don't be like, no, some guy on a podcast told me, no, I just got to say no to everything. Certainly not the case. But I want you to think about any opportunity that comes your way. When one thing gets added onto your plate, one thing has to come off your plate. We are really good at adding stuff to our plates, to our team's plates, to our family's plates, to our spouse's plates. We're really good at just adding more things on. We're not so good about taking things away. And so if you've planned out your week, if you've planned out like your worship sets, if you've planned out your student ministry, if you planned out your band program, your choral program, if you serve in a volunteer team at a church, if you've planned that out well, then there's not space for anything else, because if it comes in, something else has got to go. So there is so much value in declining the things that are just not essential for you to be spending your energy and your time on. Because if I'm spending energy on that, I am now forsaking some of my core responsibilities, the things that I've been either hired to do or the things that I just want to do. Right? Perfect example is this podcast. So we have some big plans for KF Music Studio in 2025. Huge plans, like some different courses and some things I can't wait to tell you about. And man, I'm so excited about it. But I also know I can think about it, but I don't have the time in this season to actually do any of the things that I want to do yet. So I'm conceptualizing, I'm planning and saying, hey, 2025, when it slows down a little bit, I can now start to get these things out there and start to work on these things without guilt or shame. So even though I'm not working actively on the courses right now, that doesn't mean that the plan isn't going to happen. And I don't feel guilty that I've now gone a couple of weeks without working on it. No, I've had extra things added to my plate. So now I need to take a few things off my plate so that I can survive or really thrive through the Christmas season. That's what I want. That's what I want personally. That's what I want for you as well. So number 7, the tips to thrive through the holiday season is I want you to find the joy amidst all the chaos. And Lord knows there is a lot of chaos this time of year. If you're in the thick of Christmas rehearsals, you know those can be chaotic. If you're planning a band concert or an elementary music concert, you know there's a lot of chaos going on right now, right? But I want to challenge you to think about something that brings you joy during these seasons. So these can be big things, these can be small things. So, for example, maybe in the midst of your Christmas rehearsal, you stop during one of the songs as maybe somebody else is leading it or somebody is singing it, and you just pause for 10 seconds and just think about the words, the joy to the world, the Lord is come. Like, think about your beginning band students, maybe doing their first concert. Take a minute and just look around at your students and their families and look at the joy. Look at the pride that your students have. Think about what you did to set them up for success. That's what I'm talking about. Find the joy every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And can I be honest with you? Joy is not a feeling, joy is a state of mind. So it's saying, no, 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 I know I'm busy right now. I know it's chaotic, but I'm going to be joyful today. I'm going to stop and get that iced coffee that I usually don't get because this is a little joy and it brings me a little joy. Or I'm going to, you know, go for a run or I'm going to get a workout in because I love the way that that makes me feel. So if you look for the joy, you'll find it. If you look for the chaos, if you look for the stress, you'll find it. So it's all up to you which one that you want to look for. The eighth tip I have for you is I want you to encourage and entertain collaboration this time of year. All right. Now, if you're like me, I'm not very good at asking for help. Uh, I like to have a vision and do it and just work hard and grind at it and get it done. That's me. But during the holiday season, I have to be willing to say, I really want to do that small group right now. I don't have the time for it. So can I empower somebody else to step up into that world, to step up into that role, and to allow them to be the leader? Maybe it's short term, maybe it's long term. Maybe over Christmas you invite some local youth pastors. Maybe you combine for a night and you kind of share the burden with two youth groups. Maybe you do a Christmas hangout instead of kind of your every week writing a sermon, kind of planning the services. Maybe you think outside the box and say, this would be a great time not to mail it in. Don't hear me that it's I'm giving you license to say I'll just do anything less than your best, but understanding that your best is different now than it was 6 weeks ago, right? So maybe this time of year is a great time to invite a local minister in or another church or your lead pastor or somebody else if you're doing that or if you're in the band room. Maybe this is a time to get creative and do some things musically that still tie into your mission and what you want to teach, but allow you a little bit of stress off your plate. Maybe you can combine and do a unit maybe with your art teacher or your choir teacher. Or if you're teaching private lessons, maybe you say, hey, for the next couple of weeks, we're going to mix it up and do kind of a 2 or 3 week special block where I teach you something we haven't talked about before, or a style of music we haven't talked about before, or here's 3 chords that we haven't done before. These are all things that I'm doing currently. And it just helps to take some of that stress off of planning and preparing just the daily grind of this time of year. All right. So I want you to look at your team right now and say, is there something that I can hand off to a key volunteer, to a key student, and let them take the ball and run with it? And they might surprise you. You might say, man, they're crushing it. I need to give them more or just let them keep running with it. Good leaders are always trying to replace themselves. And I'm talking to myself here because I'm really bad at this. Because the reason I was such a good band director is because I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to be the one that does all of the things. But I found I gain true control when I let it go. And I gain true authority when I am trying to always empower other people, empower section leaders, empower small group leaders. Let them take an more active approach in what we're doing. Get that collaboration so that we can, um, we can thrive in this holiday season. And that's what I want for you. That's what I want for me. Number 9, what I want you to think about is I want us always, this really should be number 1, but I saved it, these last 2 for the end because the first were very tactical. Hey, encourage your team, say no to things, manage your time. All of those things are great. But I want to zoom out and get big picture here. That number 9 is we just want to reflect on the true meaning of Christmas. Like, not the Hallmark version of Christmas or anything like that, like the true meaning of what it means that God incarnate, like, came to this earth and humbled himself and was legitimately born on earth. Man, that's awesome. Like, literally awestruck that event occurred. And so I want you to always remember that. A phrase I used to say when I was a choir director and a worship leader was, we let the words that we sing dictate how we sing them. So if we're singing joy to the world, the Lord is come, let earth receive her king, that should dictate a response from us. We should sing that. We should say that in a certain way. We don't ever want to lose the awe of this moment of why we celebrate the Christmas season. That it's not the presents, it's not the travel, it's not the Christmas cookies, though those are good. It's not any of that. That is, Jesus is the reason for the season. And I believe that the closer we are to the church, sometimes the harder it is for us to remember that because we know it. We just don't always keep it to the front of our minds. And so I want you to take a second and just reflect on that. That um, that God Himself loved you and I enough to send His Son into the world, not to condemn it, but to save it and to show us what the Father is like. Man, that's special. And when we take a second, our posture, our attitude, all the stresses, even in that moment, the stress of recording this now 20 some minute podcast, all that stress kind of went away. And it was like, wow, peace on earth and goodwill towards all men. And that's special. So I want you to take a second this year and reflect on that true meaning, not the sanitized, I've been serving in church or I've known this my whole life, but to really, really reflect and read the birth story again from a fresh set of eyes. Try to imagine you're the shepherds hearing, for one, just seeing the angels in the middle of the night, which is crazy to think about. Just say, man, don't be afraid, for on this day in Bethlehem, a child was born. Like, wow, that's amazing. And it just puts everything else into perspective. And number 10, this is more for a couple of weeks from now. So if you're watching this after Christmas, this is what I want you to do after every holiday, is I want you to, for one, take a day, a week, take some time off. Take a couple of days, take a week, mix up your rhythm and allow your body and your mind to rest. Do things that bring you joy. So I'm a big video game guy, been a gamer my whole life. After the Christmas season, or if I get a little break, that's what fills me up. That's what allows me to recharge. That's what allows me to take my mind off of, allows me to take my mind off of everything I'm responsible for, and allows me to just kind of exist and to kind of turn my mind off. And it's just something that I've always found comfort in. And so after the Christmas season, take a day, take a week, take 2 weeks, take as long as you can, and just rest. Like, really rest. This is not the time to rest, but then you're really reflecting or you're writing your next sermon series or whatever. This is your time to rest. If you're a band director, this is your time to rest. It is okay if you come back from Christmas season and you don't have your spring concert all planned out. That's okay. You can use a couple of weeks to get back into it. You can work on scales, you can work on things. You don't have to have everything planned out exactly. There's ways to build skills that you know they're going to use, but in a way that allows you to kind of plan as you get back in and allows you to rest. I'm also a fan that reflection after a concert or after a recital should not happen right after it, and it should not happen until you've taken an appropriate break because it takes your body a day, a week, a month sometimes to reflect and to like come down from all the stress that uh, your performances, your services, your recitals, all of that stuff. It takes a minute for you it takes more than a minute. It takes a couple days, a week to kind of come down from that so that you can now think clearly and you can think logically without emotion. So after the holidays, take that break and then start a Word document. So I always call it the next year. So I would call it 2025 Christmas. And what I'm doing is I'm going to journal. Hey, what's one thing that went really well this season? What's one thing that surprised me this season? What was one thing that brought me joy this season? And then lastly, hey, knowing what I know now, what would I do differently? The purpose of that document is so that when it comes back around and spoiler alert, Christmas is coming next year, 2025, December 25th. It's gonna be here next year. And it will be there the year after that. For as long as this earth is here, we will have that, right? So if you start the next year, you can then you can allow yourself to rest, think logically, type out, write out, record out all of your notes, everything that you feel about the season, the things that went well, things that gave you joy, things you would do better, ideas that you have, maybe ideas that people suggested to you at the concert, which seems to happen every year. Take all those notes, write them in there, then in a few months when the Christmas season comes back around, then what you can do is you can reflect and improve next year. Okay, friends, I hope that this has been helpful for you. Our 10 steps was that we're going to acknowledge the unique holiday pressures. We're going to acknowledge it and just say, yes, this time of year is busy. Two, we don't make career decisions during the holidays. All right. And every teacher said amen to that. Number three is we're going to set realistic expectations. Okay. Realistic expectations of what the Christmas season, what we can get done, what we need to do. Number four, we're gonna manage our time. We're gonna take our time and tell our time where it's gonna go. So conversely on that is we're not gonna waste time, right? Number five, I want you to think about self-care. So things that bring you joy. Take a walk, read a book. For me, I'm a gamer, so playing some games, do some things that take care of our body, eat well, drink plenty of water, sleep. All those things super important this time of year. Don't forget the importance of saying no. The importance of saying, "Hey, I love that idea. I just don't have the time or the bandwidth for it right now, but let's revisit it in January." Number seven is finding the joy amidst all the chaos. So find your moments of joy. For some people, it might even be a candy bar in the parking lot. Man, you do you. Find that joy. Maybe an almond joy. Hashtag not sponsored. Number eight, we're going to encourage some collaboration. So we're going to try to hand off some things to some other people and empower them to do those things. And one thing I was just thinking about my time as a band director, like that might mean after the Christmas concert that you're not the one collecting the music. That you look at some of the leaders in your band, and I don't care if they're sixth graders, fifth graders, or seniors, you have leaders in that band that if you tap them and if you encourage them, they will step up. Maybe they're the ones who put away the Christmas music. You know, maybe they're the ones who maybe even planning a Christmas party. Like they can do that for sure. Like you can guide them, but they can shoulder the responsibility. Number nine, we're going to reflect on the true purpose of Christmas, why we're here, why Christmas is special. That's one, if you learn nothing else in this podcast, that's the one that will change your thought process. Even me talking it through, Man, it's just brought me with such peace, such joy, remembering why we get to do this. And number 10 is afterwards, we're going to start that document, 2025 Christmas, and then we're going to take the time to really reflect on that. Well, friends, I hope that this has been helpful for you. Man, it would mean the world to me if you would share this podcast, send this link to one of your friends. Uh, it's been a joy to reflect on some of the things that I've learned over my time at Christmas. And I want you to leave a comment below, wherever you're watching this. Leave a comment. Let me know which one has helped you the most and what step you're going to do to not just survive this Christmas season, but thrive. All right. Check out kfmusicstudio.com for all the latest updates, the courses, all the stuff. Man, we are building and adding new stuff all the time. So it would mean the world to me if you would check out that website as well. I've got some free gifts for you that you can check out there. Some lots of good stuff coming in 2025 as well. So Merry Christmas to you. Praying that this is the best Christmas for you ever, that you really thrive through it. And we will see you on the next episode. God bless you.